What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. My name is Will, and joining me is my co-host Eric. How you feeling today, dog?
I'm feeling great this morning, man. Really excited to get into our video today. We got a little new mock draft heat to go through.
Hell yeah. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 12th, which means Tuesday, April 11th, Mr. Mel Kiper dropped his two-round mock draft. Just his outlook on where he thinks some of these landing spots are going to be for some of these rookies in the draft coming up later this month. So we're actually really excited to get into this one, and we're going to try to give some fantasy football context into these landing spots for these players and just how we think it could affect them, how it could affect their draft stock. So you ready to get into it, Eric? Oh, actually, before we get into it, though, just want to thank our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy, Dynasty owner, and Do Numbers. But more on that later. We'll take care of that later. Right now, we're going to get into this mock draft. So, Eric, you ready to get into it?
I am very ready. Let's get it going.
Hell yeah. Starting off at the number 1 overall pick, Mr. Mel Kiper has Bryce Young going to the Carolina Panthers. How do you feel this affecting his fantasy draft spot?
So there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of rumors about who's going to go number 1. We've heard some kind of smoke screens about whether CJ Stroud was going to go 1 initially. Now all of the lines have moved to Bryce Young. I think if he goes 1, like it's a fine situation. Frank Reich, I like him as the head coach. I think he's good at developing quarterbacks. The depth chart isn't great around him. He's got an okay offensive line. We're talking Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark, and Adam Thielen as his starting wide receivers. Not the worst, but also not very confidence-inspiring. It's possible that they might look to add more wide receivers throughout the draft, but in this mock, they didn't do that at the 39th pick, so I don't know. I like Bryce Young. Him going number 1 kind of solidifies him as one of those top quarterbacks, but he was already there. What does it do for you?
It's like you said, it kind of just puts him back in that same spot that he was in for me in terms of potential, in terms of just the overall ceiling. He's just sort of the safest pick, and he's in the spot that's probably the least interesting out of the three, or out of the top 3 rookies to go. So yeah, it's just not very confidence inspiring, but it's something that like he's got enough to work with that he can make something happen out there.
Yeah, and I think we didn't go super in depth, but as we get through these quarterbacks, we'll kind of add more context to all of their draft spots as it relates to each other.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil anything. And then we're coming up on the number 2 spot. The Houston Texans keeping their pick and drafting CJ Stroud to their team in the quarterback position. I feel like this is one of the more, it's definitely more exciting than Carolina is in terms of his supporting cast. Don't want to spoil anything. We're going to come back because there's another pick that goes to this team as well that is a little bit fantasy relevant. But in terms of Nico Collins, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz, just those 3 alone, I like that better than Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark, and Adam Thielen. I feel like that already has a higher ceiling right there. How do you want to talk about this one, Eric, without spoiling anything going forward?
You don't want to spoil it?
We can spoil it. We got to spoil it. Another player that also went to this team is Mr. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He was also drafted to this team as well, which is awesome because that is a college quarterback coming with his college wide receiver, his number 1 college wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
So chemistry there is just awesome. And then Nico Collins is also a good complement to JSN and his skill set. So what are your thoughts on this one right here?
You getting a little Burrow Chase light type vibes here?
Yeah, like I'm feeling it. I am feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling it.
It's not quite to that level. I think Burrow is definitely better than Stroud. I think Chase is definitely better than JSN, but it's not that far off, man. And you get that college chemistry coming into the NFL. These 2 young guys that already have the connection between them, learning and growing together in this offense. I think it's a great situation for both Stroud and JSN. Obviously the team isn't there yet. Like they have to get a lot better before I think Stroud takes a jump into the top tier of all quarterbacks. Like dynasty wise, he's going to be up there, but when we're talking redraft or just how he's going to do this upcoming year, it's going to take a second, but love it for JSN. And also, as opposed to Carolina, who had to trade up to get to the number 1, the Texans have a lot more draft capital to surround Stroud with even more talent. So I like the landing spot quite a bit.
Yeah, it's the benefits of just sucking is that, you can do that 1 year. You can just come back, and it looks like they're definitely on the road to doing that if they make some moves like this.
I do.
What's up?
do want to mention,
Mm-hmm.
we're taking everything in context of Mel Kiper's mock draft, so we're sticking with what he says.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to see Stroud go here because there's been all that talk about he has the same agent as Deshaun Watson, and so there's like tensions there and whether they would draft him or not. So I just wanted to mention that little piece of info. But again, we're going off what Mel Kiper has told us.
That is interesting. Yeah, that's a little bit of context right there because that really does matter. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. At the number 3 overall spot, we actually have the Titans trading up to this spot with the Arizona Cardinals and taking Anthony Richardson at the quarterback spot. So if the Titans were to draft Anthony Richardson, he's probably going to sit behind Ryan Tannehill. I think the team, they like Ryan Tannehill. And, obviously they saw what happened last year when they took Ryan Tannehill out of the lineup and put in a quarterback who didn't quite know the system, wasn't quite familiar with it, didn't have that experience, and it didn't prove to be a very valuable offense. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, Eric, this landing spot?
So it's pretty well documented on this channel that we believe in Anthony Richardson. We like him a lot as a talent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be good for him to go sit behind Ryan Tannehill for a portion of a year or the whole year, whatever the case may be. But I just don't see the Titans as a team that's really on the rise. I think that they're a team similar to like what we've seen from the Colts in recent years, where they're probably going to hang on to trying to be competitive for longer than they should. They don't have an offensive line. Their offensive line is terrible right now. They're talking about trading Derrick Henry. Their defensive front is good, but like their secondary, yeah. So I don't know. Love Anthony Richardson, and like it's a run first offense, so they could probably utilize him well in the play action game and stuff like that. But again, I just don't like the offense around him. Traylon Burks, Chigo Okonkwo, I guess, are some pretty decent weapons to throw to, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's not very confidence inspiring, to be honest with you. Even just the style of offense that the Titans run doesn't really give a huge ceiling for a quarterback, and just the way that they do run their offense. So, obviously, like you said, they're thinking about trading Derrick Henry, so offense might not run through him anymore. Those days might be behind us at this point. They may have to adapt and become new. But I just don't see, with what they have right now, how they can really build around Anthony Richardson and give him a great spot where he can reach his ceiling, at least, or he's going to have to do a hell of a lot of work himself. So, like, we're either going to have to see a quick improvement from him and a lot of IQ from him that, isn't exactly, the most hopeful situation here, but it could happen. It very well could happen.
Yeah, so I don't want it to skew too negatively. I still like it. I think the draft capital shows great investment and belief in him from the team. Again, I still like Anthony Richardson. But yeah, just not a wonderful situation. Also, it has to be mentioned that if he does sit behind Ryan Tannehill and he's a non-contributor for a year, that automatically devalues him as a pick. Not that for dynasty purposes, we should be thinking long-term, but a lot of people are fairly short-sighted. They get caught up in what have you done for me lately? I think that if he does sit and the team performs poorly or it just doesn't look like a good situation, his value probably drops after you draft him. So this might be a situation where somebody like myself or like you who believe in him, maybe we don't draft him initially and look to trade for him in the future if his value does go down. Maybe that's a risky proposition, but just an idea.
Yeah, it definitely is an idea. So it's going to be strange to see what happens, but it's a weird landing spot, like you said.
Yeah.
And then going into the number 4 overall pick, we have the Indianapolis Colts selecting Will Levis at quarterback. This one right here, again, it's the same story we've been saying. We don't like Will Levis as a player, but in terms of draft capital and the opportunity that he could get right here, it'd be kind of hard to pass on him. Again, as one of those quarterbacks, he's going to get the opportunity. So what do you think about this one, Eric?
I love the landing spot.
Yeah.
I love where he's going. Wide receivers around him, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie, pretty good. Draft capital's great, obviously, at the number 4 pick. I love the new coach, Shane Steichen. He just showed that He could develop a quarterback like Jalen Hurts and turn him into a Super Bowl contender and a really good quarterback. So gives me a little bit more confidence that a guy like Will Levis, who I don't necessarily love as a prospect, could come around and could succeed. Where does this put him in the quarterback ranks of this draft class for you? Does it shake anything up?
I still have him as QB4.
Yeah.
But the gap between him and Anthony Richardson is just slightly gotten a little bit tighter, just because he's going to get the opportunity here. He's going to play. He's probably going to play immediately. And like you said, with this supporting cast and the coaching staff, it's kind of hard to not root for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think this really goes to show just how close a lot of these guys are. Like, we've been talking about them throughout the draft process, and they've been in similar spots for us. But the truth is, these guys are all fairly close talent-wise. They're in different points of their development and stuff like that, but landing spot will dramatically impact where we take them. I still agree with you. He'd be my QB4 as well. But like, at one point in the draft process, we had Anthony Richardson as the QB1.
Mm-hmm.
We had Bryce Young as the QB3. Now he gets drafted number 1 overall. Does that switch? I don't know. I think if this were to happen, it probably becomes Stroud, Bryce, Richardson, Levis for me, but it's still real tight.
I 100% agree with that. Like, CJ Stroud, even there, it's just by a little bit, and it's because of the supporting cast, really. It's not even because of the prospects. But these landing spots make all the difference.
Yeah.
And then going to the 12th overall pick, the Houston Texans, as we alluded to earlier, Mr. Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like we said, we just feel like this is a great landing spot for him. He's with his former college quarterback, which we've talked about, and even last season with just that college quarterback to receiver connection. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown. Last year, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, even though that ended the way it did. It's still something. It's a metric that you can kind of look into and see that there is some success to be found in that. And he would be the clear-cut wide receiver 1 for this team. There's nobody else is competing with JSN here. And in terms of where do you think you would draft him at here? Where would his land?
I wanted to be the one that asked you.
Uh-huh.
this is a tough question. I think with Stroud and Young going where they are, I think they are the safest options. I think if I were more in on Levis as a prospect, like strictly just him as a player, this landing spot might vault him into a point where I would take him earlier, but I don't feel that way. And I love Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he's super safe. Do I take him above Anthony Richardson? He's somewhere in that 104 to 105 category where he's been. I still don't know that I can make a determination whether I take him before A-Rich or not.
I might take him before A-Rich, honestly.
Yeah.
I might, just because, like you said, he's a wide receiver as well, so you're going to get years of production out of him.
Yeah.
He's a young guy. He's there with his college quarterback. It's one of those, I wouldn't be mad at you if you took him before. I wouldn't be mad at you if you took AR before. I don't think there's a wrong decision out of either of the two. That's what I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying there.
I think that's well said. You might have convinced me. He's definitely safer. I love the upside and the ceiling of Anthony Richardson, but it's not like Jackson Smith-Njigba is a slouch when it comes to upside. Like, he could be a top 5 dynasty receiver within a year or two.
He could be a top 3. He could be a top 1 for all we know, honestly. I don't know. Yeah, he's not gonna. Justin Jefferson is really fucking good at football. It's Jamar Chase too.
Yeah, but no, I think you're onto something. I think 104 does probably make sense, but again, either way, I'm not going to blame you. I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm not.
You could make a case for either one.
I'm not faulting either pick. They're probably right there, just level at this point for me.
Yeah.
And then at the 15th overall, we got the Green Bay Packers selecting Dalton Kincaid, first tight end off the board. Dalton Kincaid. It's almost like we've been saying that too, but hey, Dalton Kincaid. So we've seen this landing spot, and we think it's a pretty good landing spot for him, right? Like, overall, it's a decent landing spot for him.
I do. There's some question marks, but I think he walks into a good amount of volume right away, which is something that you love to see, especially for a rookie tight end.
Yeah, like, he's only going to be competing with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs,
Christian Watson is the only quote unquote established receiving threat that this team has right now. So they just traded away Robert Tonyan, so that tight end position opens up. They still have Josiah DeGuara, but like, who the fuck cares about that guy?
Yeah.
I think he walks into volume, which is going to be important. It just depends what you think about Jordan Love, what you think about this offense as a whole now that Aaron Rodgers is presumably leaving.
And I don't think Jordan Love is bad. I don't think Jordan Love's bad. Even when he played last year, a couple years ago, I'm not sure if it was last year or not.
I think he got a start last year.
Yeah,
if I'm
he did.
Not mistaken.
And he did pretty well that start. He didn't flounder. He showed a little bit of poise, showed that he's, been in the league for a little bit. He's at least used to the game speed. There's some guys who go out there and flounder, like Zach Wilson. But, Jordan Love didn't do that.
It's a landing spot that we've seen a lot for him in a lot of mock drafts, so this wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Overall, I think it's good. Like you said, he's been our tight end one for a while, so it'd be cool to see that reciprocated by the NFL. I'd be happy about it. Where would you take him, let's say, in a super flex half-point tight end premium league?
Ooh, wouldn't be mad at somebody taking him at the back end of the first round.
Yeah.
Back end
That's
of the
about
first
what
round.
I was thinking as
Anywhere
well.
from that 10 to 12 spot, honestly.
Yeah, if the tight end premium were juiced up a little bit, if we're talking like a full point or any more than that, I could see him creeping into like the kind of Zach Charbonnet territory, that like RB3-ish range.
By like 108, 107 range.
Somewhere in there, yeah. But
Okay.
I think if we're talking regular tight end premium or less than that, we're saying back of first, end of second area.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
Back of first, beginning of second. I think I said that wrong.
Yeah, all good. All
Yeah.
good. All good.
Take a quick little break here before we get into the next player. We do have an ad read for you. Our partner, Dynasty Owner, is a great site to go check out. Kind of a unique way to play Dynasty. If you're interested, they do have a patent on using NFL contracts, like real player NFL contracts in their Dynasty games. So it makes the draft and a lot of player movement, free agency and stuff like that even more impactful and more fun when it happens, because it directly impacts your teams. But yeah, if you want to head over there, you can win money if you're good at Dynasty, just like normal. If you place in the top 4 spots, you get a payout for that. But also, if you're a savvy Dynasty manager who can turn a team from worst to first, you can also gain a profit by going to their Dynasty Owner marketplace and selling your team for more than you originally bought into it for. So if you're interested in any of that, head over to dynastyowner.com and use our promo code BALLBUSTERS for 15% off. Or sorry, is it 20% off?
It's
20% off.
20% off.
20% off, $10 off, I think is what it equates to when you sign up at dynastyowner.com. So again, promo code BALLBUSTERS for $10 off when you sign up. Go check it out.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thank you to Dynasty Owner for the opportunity. And we're going to go ahead and get right back into this mock draft. At the 17th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Zay Flowers. This is definitely one that's going to shake some things up. It's definitely one of those ones that's going to throw a wrench in a lot of a lot of values for some players. What do you think about this one right here?
Baby, all of those fucking Antonio Brown comps coming to life, huh?
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, I love the player. And also, like, if this is what ends up happening, whoever the Steelers draft at wide receiver, like, I have to trust they're going to be good. They don't miss when it comes to wide receivers.
At all.
So I think that, I already like the prospect. If he goes to the Steelers, I think he's a good dynasty investment. But at least right out of the gate, there's a lot of target competition. Like, a lot. Him and Deontay, I feel like, play in similar areas of the field, so there's a lot of competition there. I don't love Kenny Pickett, and I anticipate this being a low-volume passing offense, kind of a slow-paced offense. So at least in the short term, in the first couple of years, I don't anticipate him being a huge fantasy contributor. But in the long term, like if Deontay leaves, if Pickens leaves, whatever the case may be, and it opens up for him, I think it could be a really good spot. So I'm not sure how to value him. What do you think?
No, it's like you said, it's kind of a shit show in there just because you got, like you said, heavy target competition between Pickens. You got Deontay Johnson. You've got Pat Freiermuth out there still taking up targets. You got Najee Harris out the backfield taking up targets. It's a lot of mouths to feed. And it's going to be interesting to see how it ends up shaking out, like who these targets end up going to. Because like you said, him and Deontay play in very similar parts of the field. But that also didn't mean like the game was too open for players like George Pickens last year. They had a lot of trouble getting him the ball, and he was very upset about that. But now you got two guys like Deontay Johnson. Possibly those targets could just end up going to those two because, like you said, sticking short to the field. Kenny Pickett's not the guy to really stretch the field out too much. So it could end up a good landing spot for him even, but it's just going to be how this team ends up shaking out.
Potentially. Really hard to weigh. You love the draft capital, coming in at 17, being the second receiver off the board. You love the investment, but then, the situation is murky. So I don't know. If it's me, there's some receivers that get drafted later on that I think I'm taking ahead of him still. I think I'd go situation over draft capital in those situations, but we'll get to that as we go further.
Absolutely agree. All right, and taking a look at the 18th overall pick, we got the Detroit Lions selecting what is probably one of the more confusing picks of this draft, Bijan Robinson at the running back position, drafted to the Detroit Lions. What do you think about this one right here?
This would be nuts. This would be insane. They just signed D-Mont to a 3-year deal. DeAndre Swift is still there, and they gave D-Mont good money too. Like I think he's
3 years, $18 million.
He's like a top 6 or 7 paid running back in the league right now.
Yeah.
So this would certainly be interesting considering their offseason moves. I don't think that this takes Bijan Robinson out of the 101. He's still that guy, and there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made here. But I think he's definitely better than D-Mont. He's definitely better than DeAndre Swift. So I think he earns the work over them right away. It's just, do they give him a workhorse role? Is it kind of like a role-playing type deal? What do you think?
This has got to, with the way the Lions ran their team last year, it's got to be at least somewhat of a committee. Even if Bijan gets the reins, I feel like the biggest problem with DeAndre Swift, like they could never really hand the reins over to him, is because he's kind of fragile. He's kind of a glass cannon. Bijan has proven to be a little bit more durable than that, especially throughout his college career. So durability shouldn't be an issue. He should at least be out there on the field a good amount, but they're gonna run at least somewhat of a committee. Like there's no way they're just sticking with just one guy, especially like you said, they paid so much for David Montgomery. If this were to happen, I don't even really see this one happening. I don't see this pick happening like this. Like this is one of the more confusing ones right here out of Mel, but I don't know. Like you said, I don't love the landing spot, but talent always ends up winning out, and Bijan is the most talented running back on this team if he gets drafted here.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's confusing, it's a crowded backfield, and based on what we've seen from the Lions so far, they've tended to go running back by committee. But Bijan is so good. Like, I don't think I can let D-Mont and Swift being there scare me off of him at the 101, especially when I know how good this offense is, how high volume it is, and how great of an O-line they have.
Oh, I mean, I'm still picking Bijan. I'm just trying to figure out how much he's on the field, if he's getting vultured at the end of big runs like we saw last year. It's just kind of crazy watching the Lions sometimes how they treat their running backs, at least.
For sure. So it clouds things up a little bit, but I still like them at the 101.
Absolutely. Like at the end of the day, talent is going to win out, And then taking a look at the 21 overall, we've got the LA Chargers selecting Jordan Addison at the wide receiver position. And I love this landing spot for him, but we can go ahead, Eric. I want to let you go ahead because Jordan Addison's one of your guys too. Hasn't he been?
Yeah. I think you're probably higher on him than me by a little bit, but I like him. I still like him. But yeah, I agree. This would be great for Addison. I love this spot. I think it's really exciting. He gets to go to a high volume, up-tempo offense with Justin Herbert throwing him the ball. That's pretty awesome to me. Early on, yes, there's target competition with Keenan and Mike Williams, but they're both on the older side. Mm-hmm. They're both on their way out, especially Keenan. He's already, 30 or 31, somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's old as shit.
he's still balling, but he's on the way out. And yeah, I just envision Jordan Addison kind of being that Keenan replacement for the future.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting because you see players like last year, DeAndre Carter. ended up going there. Another smaller receiver on the smaller side was able to find some great success, especially when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams weren't in. So they are able to game plan for smaller receivers to be in that sort of, alpha possession role, because we saw DeAndre Carter do it, and Jordan Addison is better than DeAndre Carter. I don't know if you guys need to be told that, but it's the truth.
For sure. Just one of the most exciting landing spots for any receiver, and so to see a polished route runner like Jordan Addison, a guy that we have ranked as highly as we do, pretty cool to see him go to a great spot like that.
Hell yeah. And then we're going to take a look over at the 26th overall pick to the Cowboys. We got Mr. Michael Mayer at the tight end position. The Jason Witten comps just keep on rolling.
Yes. Yes, bro. It's perfect.
They just keep on rolling. But this is just a really good fit, too. Dallas really needs more receiving weapons, and he's proven in college that he can be a receiving weapon. He's one of the most productive college tight ends of all time. So there's that right there. And just being able to step in and contribute right away. But what do you think about Michael Mayer landing here?
I love it. I think, like you said, the Jason Witten comps come to mind right away. Dak has a tendency to rely on tight ends. He comes into an offense that just got rid of Dalton Schultz, just got rid of Noah Brown. They did add Brandon Cooks, but I think Mayer is immediately the third option, if not the second option. We'll see what Cooks has left. I believe in him, and I think he can have a good season. But yeah, I think in what I hope continues to be a high-volume passing offense, even with Kellen Moore out the door, we've yet to see that, but hopefully they continue that. I think it could mean fantasy greatness for Mayer at this point.
Nah, I agree. It's like you said, Dak loves tight ends too, and he's proven that he can be definitely a receiving threat. So I'd like to see what he can do out there.
For sure.
At the 30th overall pick, we've got via the Philadelphia Eagles. They traded away this pick to the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks selected Hendon Hooker at the quarterback position. That first-round capital for Hendon Hooker we've been talking about. We're seeing it right here. And this is one of the more confusing ones, I will say. Geno just recently extended for 3 years, right?
Yeah. I think it's one of the more confusing ones to figure out for fantasy. I think it makes a ton of sense for real life NFL.
Oh yeah, real life NFL is a great move.
Yeah, Philly, Howie Roseman doing his thing, trading back out of the first round, acquiring more draft picks. Seattle getting their potential quarterback of the future, and also trading in to the back end of the first round where they can get that fifth-year option on top. I think it makes a lot of sense NFL-wise, but like you said, I've been kind of going back and forth in my head about how I feel about it for fantasy. Geno signed the 3-year extension, but if you look at the contract, if Seattle wants it to be, it could just be a 1-year deal. They have an out after this year where they don't have to deal with much dead cap. It wouldn't be too unfavorable. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it wouldn't be too bad for them to deal with money-wise if they wanted to get rid of him. I just don't know how I feel about Hooker as a prospect overall. How do you see him?
I mean, so Hendon Hooker in terms of like play style and having him and Geno Smith, I think they're two very similar quarterbacks. So yeah, in terms of play style and just Hooker as a prospect himself, I think he's a good person to have as sort of like, that person getting mentored by a Geno Smith, but it's weird to say getting mentored by Geno Smith because he's only had like one good year in the league. So like
he's dealt with a lot. He's been through a lot in the NFL.
Yeah, but
he can teach some lessons.
Recency bias is crazy, but
that's fair.
But it is what it is. I think Hooker could make something happen, and like you said, with him getting that first round capital and him learning behind Geno, the fact that I didn't know his contract was structured that way. If they could get rid of him after that first year, this is kind of the best way to do that and have a guy ready to just step right in immediately. It's I'm not saying it's the exact thing because it's not by a country mile, but it's similar like when the Kansas City Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes and they still had Alex Smith. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year because Alex Smith was still capable. They ended up trading him away, and Patrick Mahomes stepped right in. Now we're talking about a guy who's a first ballot Hall of Famer by age 27, so there's no comparing the two. But in terms of having a quarterback sit behind someone with at least a similar play style, similar, draft capital, has been there before, it could be positive.
All right. Yeah, for a second there, I was like, hold on.
I
I get what you're saying.
I could see it in your face. I was nervous. I was like, I gotta right the ship.
You were right on point. That makes a lot of sense. And I think Gino would be a good mentor for Hooker. Just like you said, similar play styles, similar kind of quarterbacking styles, whatever you want to call it. They both came from spread offenses in college. I don't know if people remember Gino back at West Virginia throwing to Tavon Austin back in the day. It made for fun college tape, and I think you could honestly say the same about Hendon Hooker and like Jalen Hyatt and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Again, I'm still not sold on Hooker as a prospect. I'm not sure about him, but I think it's a good situation. And also, if he does become the starter in 2024, he's throwing to DK Metcalf. Maybe Tyler Lockett's still there. Like, it's a good team around him. So with all of that being said, it's a long discussion about Hendon so far, but where would you be taking him in rookie drafts?
End of the first round, early second. Yeah, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range. Like, wherever I could get him for as cheap as I can, but also I'm not afraid to use the capital on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I agree with that.
And then looking at the number 34 overall pick, we got the Arizona Cardinals selecting Quentin Johnston. This is a more confusing one, but, Arizona, we got DeAndre Hopkins on the way out the door, so needing another big-bodied guy to replace him would be actually pretty beneficial. He's bigger than DeAndre Hopkins, I'm pretty sure, right? D-Hop 6'1", Quentin Johnson 6'3". Is that the case?
I think so.
Yeah. And then Kyler throws a great deep ball, so that's somebody that, could be a great target for Kyler Murray to go along with Marquise Hollywood Brown. But what do you think about Quentin Johnston in this landing spot?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. D-Hop out the door. Hopefully QJ kind of fills not the same role, because him and D-Hop don't
match
play
up
the same way.
Yeah, play style wise.
QJ is not necessarily that like possession kind of dependable type guy that D-Hop is. He's more of an explosive kind of downfield or short area threat. I am a little bit worried with Kyler being a shorter quarterback. It's harder for him to work the middle of the field that well. That's kind of been an issue of his. And I think that's kind of where QJ does his best work. Like, where he had the most success in college was on in-breaking routes, whether that be slants or digs or posts, where he could just use his speed and size to separate down the field. And he struggled with out-breaking routes, where he really had to work on the footwork and the route running and stuff like that. And I feel like that's where Kyler excels, is working on the boundaries. So I don't know that it's a great like one-to-one fit between them. But I think he fills a hole that this offense needs as an explosive playmaker for sure.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be one of those guys. He can slide in immediately as the wide receiver 2 in this offense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, he's going to do whatever it is he's going to do. Also, he's not going to have Kyler for a little bit to start out his career as well. So
Very true.
Yeah, who even knows how the beginning of his career is going to look. They still have Colt McCoy as their backup for this year?
I was gonna say, bro, they got Colt McCoy and what, like David Blau? Like, who's gonna be throwing the ball?
Yeah, I guess Colt McCoy. I don't know if he's still there even.
I think he is. I'd have to check, but
yeah,
I'll do that if you want to intro the next guy.
Yeah, and then we're taking a look at another one. So this one's a little bit confusing. It's the Eagles pick that they got traded to from Seattle, but this was actually Denver's pick originally from that Russell Wilson trade. So this is the Eagles selection right here via Seattle, via Denver, and it is Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. And I kind of love this pick. This pick. I think he's like you had written here, I think he's a really good compliment to Rashad Penny, but in terms of like being able to, Jalen Hurts doesn't check down a whole lot. So we're not really sure how many passes he's going to actually be able to catch. Jalen Hurts often runs himself. So I think this will limit some of his receiving work, but Jahmyr Gibbs is still no slouch in the rushing department whatsoever. He's still behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, if not the best offensive line in the NFL. And he's very explosive. He is a home run hitter as well. So in terms of receiving work, I do feel like this will handicap him just a little bit, but rushing, yeah, honestly, this team would make him a better rusher than we've kind of comped him for at this point.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know that I'm quite as excited about this one as you are, but I fully understand the excitement, and I think that outcome could come to fruition. Like you said, perfect complement to Rashad Penny. I think in terms of just NFL, like this is one of the most exciting backfield tandems that there is. Like that's going to be him, Rashad Penny, and Jalen Hurts running behind that offensive line is so scary. That's crazy. So I love it for the Eagles. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But for his fantasy outlook, we're talking about a great offensive line, like you mentioned. That's great. But I do not see him stealing any red zone work away from Rashad Penny as long as he's healthy, which is a fairly substantial caveat. Mm-hmm. There's added upside built in there for if Penny goes down, which, as unfortunate as it is, the truth is that's probably likely at some point.
Yeah, it's happened often, like every single time.
Yeah, but like, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is like a souped up Kenneth Gainwell, right?
Yeah.
Like they're similar play styles, similar size. Kenneth Gainwell did it at he did it at Memphis, so not an SEC school, but great production. We've seen what Kenneth Gainwell does in this offense, and it's like 10 touches max. It's not great production. He doesn't catch a lot of passes. If we were in a less stacked offense that didn't have AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, maybe I'd be like, okay, they can split him up out wide. They can use him as a legit receiver because Jahmyr Gibbs has that in his bag. But why would they take any of those guys off the field?
Because I thought about that for a second too. I was like, oh, they could put him out wide, but I was like, oh, they don't need to, like at all.
They don't need to. Yeah. So
even
I
Kez
like
Watkins. Kez Watkins as well out there at receiver. That's another guy. So yeah.
Yeah. So I like it, but it does scare me for his upside as a fantasy asset.
Yeah, I think this move definitely raises his, I guess, I don't even know if this raises his floor. His floor probably stays the same, but that upside disappears a little bit. So yeah, it is a little bit of a downgrade him landing here, I guess. But I do like the rushing work he can get done. But
yeah,
like you said, off 9 touches, if he gets that, hopefully he gets more. I don't know. I want to see how they actually end up doing that if they end up taking him. But again, this is just a mock.
Yeah. And one more thing. So for me, prior to this, I was always taking Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Will Levis. I'm not doing that anymore.
Absolutely
if this comes to fruition.
If this is the draft, I'm taking Will Levis 10 times out of 10 before Jahmyr Gibbs.
I still don't feel good about it.
No.
I'm still not happy with it.
But I have to do it. Yeah, I'd have to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's going to get us into our second sponsor. Recently, we partnered with the Fantasy Football League winners, and we've been doing content for them. We actually put out a video for them recently, so check out the link down in the description below. Check that video out for just some extra content that we've been doing over there with them. There's a lot of other great creators, so check out articles from them as well. But with that being said, we're also sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. So, Underdog Fantasy, if you were to go on that website or click the link down below, they will match your deposit if you are a first-time user, 100% of your deposit. So if you deposit $20, they will deposit an extra $20 into your account, so you'll have $40 to play with. That's double the money if you're a first-time user, up to $100. So that is $200 total that you could have in your account if you put in $100. So if you use promo code FFLW or you click the link down below, they will match your deposit 100% up to $100. And yeah, you can go ahead and gamble responsibly and have a good time over there on that website. Play some best ball, play some, whatever it is they got out there, man. Yeah.
All sorts of player props.
Yeah.
Get ready for the fantasy season by doing best ball drafts, treating them like mock drafts. That's one of my favorite things to do. All sorts of stuff. So support us, support Underdog. We love Underdog. We also love the league winners for getting us into this partnership. Great stuff.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, let's keep it rolling.
Hell yeah. And with that being said, we're going to get into the 40th overall pick. And we've got the Saints selecting Darnell Washington. And this could not help my agenda anymore.
Just keep pounding the table.
I have been pounding the table to not pick Darnell Washington throughout the entirety of this draft process. And I'm pounding it even harder at this point.
Yeah. Yep. He goes to a crowded receiver room with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, who maybe not a lot of people think about, but he's a guy that I'm pretty high on, and Juwan Johnson, who performed really, really well last year. Even the year before, he was good. He just got an extension, so I don't know. He couldn't earn volume in college, playing alongside one great tight end and then a bunch of scrubs around him for the most part. I just don't see that changing in an even more crowded and much better receiver room in New Orleans.
Yeah, they just drafted another lineman, guys. They just drafted another lineman. I'm sorry. Like, it's crazy because I could be so wrong. This dude could be a dog. But it's going to take a lot for that to happen. It's going to take a lot.
Like, athletically, he can do it. We've seen how good he is in contested catch situations. He could be a red zone monster. All of this is possible, but he's never once produced like that. Not one time has he produced at a level that would have made me consider him fantasy viable. So I'm not going to change my tune. As much as I like him as an athlete and I think he has the upside, I think his floor is so low just because, like you said, they could just use him like an extra lineman. He could just be in there and block all the time. So I think it's good for the NFL. I think it's good for the Saints. And I wish no ill will upon Darnell Washington. I hope he has a great and prosperous career. I just don't project a lot of fantasy relevance from him.
Like, that's the thing. Darnell Washington is great at football. He's going to get the draft capital. He's a great football player. He's just not good for fantasy, and that's okay. But he's going to have a great career. He's going to be good, but he's just not good for fantasy. He's not seeing my team. At the 42nd overall pick, this is a pick via Cleveland for the Jets, the New York Jets. And this is Mr. Luke Musgrave at tight end. This kind of just a guy getting drafted here for me. He's going to a team that has two tight ends already. Maybe the draft capital gives him a nod over both of them or over one of them, but it's on the Jets. And they might be getting Aaron Rodgers soon, so that is an upgrade over Zach Wilson. So it is a more optimistic look, but I don't really see this really moving the meter for me in terms of Luke Musgrave. Does this move anything for you, really?
Good question first.
Okay.
How do you feel about him, regardless of this landing spot, just as a prospect?
I don't think he should have gotten drafted here. If we were looking for a receiving tight end still, I feel like someone like Sam Laporta should have went here before him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not super high on him either. I'm not a huge supporter of Luke Musgrave. Yeah, he's athletic, but dealt with injuries his whole career, was never like a high-end producer in college. Mm-hmm. Like you said, he comes in, has to deal with Conklin and Uzama already on the depth chart. Aaron Rodgers comes into town, but who knows how long he's going to be there for? He's already contemplated retiring multiple times. And with a guy like Luke Musgrave, it's typical for all tight ends to take 2 or 3 years before they're really fantasy relevant in the NFL. But especially not the top tier guys. Like we were talking about Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid potentially contributing right away. Mm-hmm. I don't envision that for Luke Musgrave. And by the time that he is contributing, if he is Aaron Rodgers still going to be there? Who knows?
Yeah, we got no idea. We don't have no idea who's going to be under center at that point.
Yeah. So good draft capital. I like the investment, but I'm still not super confident. I would have liked to have seen Mel take this a little bit further to see if Sam Laporta did get drafted in the 3rd round. If he went anywhere in the 3rd round, almost any situation, I think I'm probably still taking Laporta over Musgrave.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that type of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then taking a look at the 54th overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers selecting someone that I did not know existed until I saw this mock, Mr. Brenton Strange at tight end. Strange pick indeed. But again, what do you got on this one, Eric? I want to hear your input. Yeah.
I don't have much. I wrote down these notes. I'm basically just going to be reading off of them because just like you, the first time that I saw this guy was at the Combine. I was like, don't know who that is. Doesn't seem important. Not going to look more into him. So I had to look him up. He went to Penn State. He's 6'4", 250. He ran a 4.7 40 at the Combine. Didn't seem particularly impressive in the athletic testing drills. He wasn't like a slouch, but not great. Caught a total of 70 passes over his college career for less than 800 total yards. Not a lot of production. I didn't get a chance to actually watch any of his games. I watched his highlights just real quickly before we got to this video. Even in, the cherry-picked, very small sample of the best, I thought he was decent with his run after catch ability, but overall pretty unimpressed with what I saw out of him.
So when I was looking at the breakdown that Mel Kiper gave for this one, I think he was saying they were going to draft him for his blocking ability because he is a very good blocker. So he's essentially just a smaller Darnell Washington.
Gross.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that at all.
Pretty much. Yeah, because even right here, I gave Chargers wideout Zay Flowers in round 1, but they shouldn't stop acquiring playmakers around quarterback Justin Herbert. Don't know why they would draft Brenton Strange if that's the case, but hey. Strange could help the entire offense because he took a step forward as a blocker in 2022. As a pass catcher, he wasn't used as a seam stretcher in college, but he has some upside. LA could look to defensive tackle, could also look to defensive tackles in round 2, which I think he just didn't know what to pick right there, to be honest with you. If we're being honest.
That's lame.
Yeah.
That's lame, Mel.
Yeah. It's a shitty pick out of you, Mel.
The rest of this is heat, though. I don't want to put too much shade on Mel. I like the rest of this.
It's a great draft. Great draft.
But yeah, if he's gonna be used as a blocker, I didn't know who he was coming into this. The Chargers already have Gerald Everett with 1 year left on the deal, Parham with 2 years left, Trey McKitty with 2 years left. I don't care about this.
Yeah, they just did a thing for real.
This is like 4th round pick in rookie drafts at best.
And even then, probably not.
That's crazy to say for like a mid-second round tight end, but it's facts. I'm not changing that stance.
Yeah, it's just, you guys can get him if you want, but I wouldn't. At the 55th overall pick, we're going back to the Detroit Lions. It's a pick they acquired from Minnesota, and they picked Jalen Hyatt at wide receiver. I'm going to let Eric read his note for this because I really like this, and I think you guys will like it too.
I really want to hear what you have to say too, but yeah, I'll read verbatim what I wrote down. My comp for Jalen Hyatt was a poor man's Jameson Williams. Now he gets to go play behind Check's notes. Jameson Williams. Fucking yikes, dude. That's rough.
It's like a Chrysler 300 looks like a Phantom until a Phantom pulls up and you're like, yeah, that's a Phantom.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, in terms of landing spots, is one of the worst ones for Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he's gonna see the field, but he's gonna be in a wide receiver 3 role at best, I feel like.
Yeah, so I shout out to Ray GQ and Jay Rich over at Destination Devi and Wake Up with Ray G. I don't know if you guys have seen that show, but if you haven't, you should go check it out. They did a reaction to this mock this morning as well, and I was curious to see what they had to say about Jalen Hyatt. They were in a similar boat where they were like, it doesn't really make sense because the two of them fill such a similar role, but one, great for Jared Goff. We got crazy field stretching ability between Jalen Hyatt and Jameson Williams on either side of the field, and then Amon-Ra, in the short to intermediate. So great for the offense. They did bring up, like, what if the offensive genius that Ben Johnson is as their offensive coordinator kind of deploys Jalen Hyatt the same way that he was used in Tennessee, where like they did a lot of stacked alignments so that they didn't have to worry about him getting off a press because he's pretty terrible at that. And he just gets free releases and can run go routes, post routes, seams all day long and just keep stretching the field. Like, I think that'd be ideal for the offense, but still, it's going to be a low volume role for Jalen Hyatt. Like, it's not like he's going to catch a lot of passes.
No, I agree. It's one of those, there's too many mouths to feed once again, and we already have established mouths at the team already. Like Amon-Ra, he's definitely getting his nod every single time. Jameson Williams going to earn his role. He's still got DeAndre Swift catching passes out the backfield because he's
Bijan now.
Back. Yeah, Bijan at this point as well. It's a lot to compete with there. We're taking a look at the 58th overall pick, and we've got Mr. Jonathan Mingo for the Dallas Cowboys at wide receiver. This is one that actually one of our members of our Discord, link is down in the description below if you want to join.
Yes, go check that out.
But a member, Max, from our Discord actually just asked about Jonathan Mingo and where we would draft him. If he went like early second round of the NFL draft, early to mid second round of the NFL draft, which is pretty much, obviously this is late second round, but we're still in that range of him getting pretty good draft capital. So how does this affect things for you in terms of your wide receiver ranks?
I don't know that it changes a whole lot. What I told Max and what I'll say to you guys in case you're not super familiar with Mingo as a prospect, I think he's really athletic. I think he's a really good deep threat. He's got great speed. And he's a really good blocker for a wide receiver, which I think makes him pretty attractive to NFL teams. But he's not a good route runner, in my opinion. He doesn't create much separation. I think it's a good landing spot because, again, we're talking about a great quarterback, an established quarterback in Dak, an offense that we've seen be high volume. So if he does kind of develop as a receiving threat, I think this could be good for him. But I think he's just a big body blocker, and kind of the occasional specialty use for deep bombs or red zone threat type deals.
Yeah, I still don't think he's not going to slot in, obviously, as a wide receiver, too. They still got, like, Michael Gallup there at the team, who's a more talented wide receiver than Jonathan Mingo. And
yeah, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a good landing spot, but like you said, I don't know where I would pick him at this point. Like, I feel like he's probably like a 3rd round pick in rookie drafts, like maybe early 3rd, late 2nd at the earliest.
That's what I was thinking. Like, this is high enough draft capital where depending on how the rest shakes out, like late 2nd is about the earliest that I would go. But if I see good landing spots for guys that I have ranked ahead of him, like Xavier Hutchinson, or how am I forgetting his name? The guy out of Wake Forest. Sorry about that, y'all. Couldn't remember A.T. Perry's name, even though that's my boy. Sorry to you, A.T. Perry, if there's any chance that you're watching this. But if he gets a great landing spot, if any of those guys that are kind of my late round sleepers get better landing spots than Mingo, I think I'm probably still taking them ahead of him just because I like them so much more as prospects.
Definitely agree with that. Just off of just pure like wide receiver talent in itself, like opportunity, being out on the field because you're a good blocker, stuff like that is cool. But like, still gotta be able to catch the ball and do something with it.
Yeah.
And then at the 59th overall pick, one of the best picks of the draft, to be honest with you, we've got the
Can we cue the Halo music? I feel like this is the perfect, like, the chosen one has arrived.
Yeah, this is it.
Sorry, continue.
Nah, you're good, bro. We got the Buffalo Bills selecting Josh Downs at wide receiver.
Yes.
So, yes. Eric, I'm going to go ahead and let you get this one. I know you're excited about this one, too.
Perfection. It doesn't get better. This is exactly what we needed from a guy that's just such a high floor player in Downs. Great athlete, great route runner, separator, contested catch guy. The only knock on him is his size, but he was still a great producer. Every year he was there at North Carolina, and he goes to just such a good landing spot in the Bills. Josh Allen's so good. The Bills are so good. Josh Downs is so good. I might bump him up to my wide receiver too if this happens, bro. I'm talking big movement.
I wouldn't be mad at that, honestly, just off of talent in terms of the situation that he lands in. Yeah. Because he's going to slot in as the wide receiver, too, with the Bills, because he's better than Gabe Davis. You'd agree with that at this point?
I would agree with that. Yeah. And I don't know that he necessarily kicks Gabe Davis off the field, but I could see Diggs X, Davis on the opposite side, and you have Josh Downs in the slot. That's nasty.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
That is filthy. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
So much
Especially
fun.
They don't have Isaiah McKenzie anymore, too. It's kind of wide open.
Khalil Shakir is still there, but I mean, Downs is better than Shakir. As much as I like Shakir, it's just facts.
Yeah, so this is just a great landing spot. Honestly, the last 3 are just all great landing spots. So this is just one of 3.
Fantastic.
Looking at the 60th overall pick, we got the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Zach Charbonnet at the running back position, which is just another great fit, especially amongst all of the legal trouble that Mr. Joe Mixon is going through at the moment. He could potentially be getting cut. He was a cut candidate before the legal incidents. So It's looking a lot worse for Joe Mixon out there. We got a draft going on right now for our league that's been going on for over 2 weeks. No one's picked Joe Mixon. No one's touched him. So
Well, he just got picked.
He just got picked?
He just got picked, yeah.
Oh, shit. Look at that. So it only took 2 weeks.
Brian took him.
Okay. But, yeah, Joe Mixon, it's not looking great for him, but Shaq Charbonnet will be able to immediately step in and just be a 3-down workhorse for this team. He's shown that he can catch passes in college. He's a great rusher, great contact player. Honestly, I would just love this spot. It's just a great fit for him. High-octane offense as well.
Yeah. This would be a fantastic fit. It honestly, I hadn't really thought about it until just now, but like this dramatically it closes the gap dramatically between him and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, is there any thought in your mind that maybe Charbonnet becomes the RB2?
If this
Because,
is
like,
if this is the draft that happens, absolutely Charbonnet's an RB2.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just based off of opportunity alone and just the
Yeah.
teams as well. Because you got two elite players, elite level players landing at elite teams, but one is obviously going to get a lot more opportunity than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking Zach Charbonnet before Jahmyr Gibbs at that point.
Damn, I like it. I like the conviction. I was considering it, but I wasn't as confident. But I think it makes a lot of sense, especially now that Samaje Perine is also out the door. If Joe Mixon goes and Samaje is gone, like, who's he competing with? It's legit his role. He's on the field every single down. He's shown that he can do it in college. He can take the workload. Yeah. On a great team with hopefully an improving offensive line, this is just a smash spot.
He's competing with what, Chris Evans and not Captain America?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Zach Charbonnet there, honestly. And then taking a look at 63rd overall pick, we got the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Marvin Mims at wide receiver. Wow. I'm letting Eric take this one away because he has been pounding the table for Marvin Mims this entire offseason process. What you got for us?
Come on. I didn't know what I needed until Mel gave it to me. This is what I need in my life. Put it in my veins. Marvin Mims to the Chiefs. Come on. Mahomes to Mims.
If this happened, Marvin Mims might end up being one of the biggest steals of like rookie drafts.
If this happens, you know the hype that any receiver going to the Chiefs is going to get. I don't know that you're going to be able to consider him a steal because I feel like he might get pumped up into the back end of the first round. Deservedly so.
That is true.
But I don't think he would be a steal anymore.
I don't know. It depends. It depends still. We got a lot of time before that too. There's still going to be a good amount of because I don't know. I feel like the last season there was a lot of hype for Sky Moore going into like, the offseason stuff like that, but
yeah,
didn't really make too much happen. But I do think Marvin Mims is better than Sky Moore as well. So like you said, the hype train could be coming in. He could be a borderline first round pick, could be a first round pick even at that point. How does this change any of the rankings for you?
It's a good question. I'm obviously JSN is one still. I talked about Downs going to the Bills. I think he's in the conversation for two, him and Addison. And so they're probably the 2-3 in whatever order you want them to be. QJ, just because of his kind of freakish size and athleticism, I think I still probably put him ahead. And then like Zay Flowers went 17th overall, but I just love the situation more. So then that's kind of the conversation there. Probably back into the first round, right around that Zay Flowers spot.
Okay. No, I could definitely see that because just opportunity playing on this team is just, it boosts anybody, honestly. You got to look at anybody and see what they can do unless you're Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
But yeah, Mims' ability as a downfield threat and as a playmaker in space, I think just fits perfectly with Mahomes' play style and the way that the Chiefs run their offense. So I'd be super excited. But again, the hype train would be unstoppable. And so as much as I love it, I just don't know how much I'd have him on my teams because I think he's going to get pumped up high end of the first round.
I think you're going to end up having to overpay for him.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that's going to bring us to the end of this mock draft. It was only 2 rounds, so, got us in and out of there. This one was a longer video, so we appreciate you guys sticking around with us to hear us out. And with that being said, we do have one more sponsor we do want to talk about. We got, you want to go ahead, Eric? You got this one.
Yeah. Do Numbers. The awesome apparel brand run by our boy Zay. Will is in right now, the CMG merch. He's got all sorts of different t-shirts, hoodies, whatever you're looking for. I'm not wearing mine today, but I've been wearing it in the past couple of videos. If you're interested, you can check it out there. You can also go to the link in the description. It's at snacks.online. And if you use our promo code FFBallbusters15, you'll get 15% off your order on any of the sweet apparel and merch over there. So yeah, please go check it out. Support us, support our boy, FFBallbusters15 for 15% off.
Hell yeah. And that's going to bring us to the end of our video. Make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you know when we drop all our latest videos. Check out all the links in the description below, because if you go to the Fantasy Football League Winners website, we do have another video over there if you want to see that. So check out that website. Check out the other content creators over there. Leave a like on the video. It's the easiest, freest way to support us and get our videos out there. Drop a comment down below if you have anything to say. If you like this mock draft, if you disagree with any of our takes, you disagree with any of the picks, let us know down below. And yeah, check the link down in the description below for our Discord if you want to join that community as well. But with that being said, Eric, you got anything else for the people before we go?
Just thanks to Mel. Came in with the heat at the last second.
Hell yeah, bro. Good looks, Mel, coming out with that the day before we wanted to record. Jeez.
Yes, sir.
God. But if you made it this far into the video and this was a long one, we definitely love you so much, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.